Hello and welcome to Just One More Watch. Welcome today to my review of the new and improved Spinnaker Bradner. Now, I got my hands on the old one in the middle of last year and I reckoned it was pretty good. A well-priced dual crown, compressor cased vintage style dive watch with sapphire crystal and a Seiko NH35 for around the $200 mark. I reckoned at the time that it was about 95% perfect, and yet here they are less than 12 months later releasing a new and improved model. What could they possibly have improved upon, and did they fix the 5% of the old model that I wasn't happy with? Let's flip the camera and find out, shall we? Sponsored content alert. This watch was sent to me for free by Spinnaker. I am under no obligation to return it. You will also find a 20% discount code in the description of this video, JOMWA20, that gets you 20% off this new Bradner or pretty much anything else you like from the Spinnaker website. Now, Spinnaker clearly have their own marketing strategy. They send a bunch of these watches out to a bunch of different YouTubers. I'm a bit late to this particular party as this one literally was on the slow boat from China. It got stuck in customs for a fortnight. Now, that can get a bit tedious seeing Bradner pop up multiple times in your YouTube feed, but at least if you are interested in this, you get a diversity, you get a range of opinions on the watch. So as always, don't just take my word for it. If you are keen on one of these Bradners, then check out as many of those other reviews as you can. I will leave a link to my review of the original Bradner just up there. Only a year ago that I reviewed this one. Why have they released a new model? Well, the old one has sold out. So clearly Spinnaker are on to a bit of a good thing with this Bradner model. I think the reason is because there just aren't all that many of these dual crown inner rotating bezel watches around at a reasonable price. The only one that I mentioned in the last review was the Dan Henry 1970, available in 40mm or 44. This is a 42, so it kind of splits that difference. But I believe the Dan Henry is pretty much sold out as well, and his watches are limited editions, so they won't be making any more of them. So I'm not going to take forever with this one today. Dimensions and specifications, lume video, time grapher, inside outside wrist shots, and we'll see what they've fixed from the last model and what they haven't. So 42mm in diameter, just under 15mm thick, just under 50mm lug tip to lug tip, 20mm lug width, and on the supplied water resistant leather strap, this one weighs in at exactly 100 grams, bang on. 316L stainless steel case, I believe it is a three-piece case from looking at it. Sapphire crystal with anti-reflective undercoating. One of the few things that I moaned about in my original Bradner review was the lack of AR coating. You can certainly see a difference. The whole watch is much more legible. I'll take it outside in a minute or two and show you that as well. They've also improved the lume. Now, I'll pop up the lume video very early today. C3 old radium style, I believe, so it's got that deeper green colour. Not a huge amount on the Arabics and the markings on the inner rotating bezel, but they have improved the lume on the hands. It does hang on in there after glowing brighter initially. So a couple of obvious improvements. One not so obvious improvement you can see on the dial there. 600 feet, 180 meters. Water resistance. Now, the old Bradner only had 150, so for all of you guys that took this one diving and were like, damn, I have to turn back at 150 meters of depth, you can now push on for an extra 30 meters. That has got to be one of the smallest and possibly most useless improvements that I've seen on a watch. But there you go, I guess more water resistance is better than less water resistance. Zoomed in on the dial and it remains pretty much unchanged from last time. I've got a deep blue model this time around, so we've got a nice dark sunburst effect. Spinnaker logo applied in that kind of Cadillac 1950s italicized font, and you've got automatic 600 feet, 180 meters as discussed, just printed in block capitals above the 6. So we've got applied indices, batons at the 12, 6 and 9, smaller batons at the rest of the hour markers. We've got a kind of ghost minute track there with 5-minute increments, just on an outer ring beyond the dial, and then we've got this inner rotating bezel. Now, as you can see, there's quite a lot of depth to all of those markings. It's a really nice layered textured dial. There's a lot of detail in there. And if I rotate that, apparently one of the other improvements is a much smoother rotation on that bezel there. Now the handset is the same as last time. They've updated the loom, but they haven't changed the handset. Nice brushed finished textured handset. Lollipop second hand, and that slightly unusual paddle shaped hour hand, again in keeping with the overall vintage theme. You can see a framed date window at the 3 o'clock with a colour matched date wheel. Well, it's black at least, so it doesn't clash with that dark blue dial on this model. Overall, a handsome, attractive and legible dial. Case finishing is nice, simple but effective. No polished surfaces apart from the ends of those crowns. Everything else is brushed. Circular brush on the upper case and lower case, and we've got this vertical brush on the side of the mid case there, and a linear brush on those lugs. All neat and tidy. No dodgy areas behind the lugs either, which is good to see. Looks the same from the back as the previous model as well. Screw down stainless steel case back, giving this one that 180 meters of water resistance and containing the Seiko NH35 movement. They do put a custom Spinnaker rotor on there, which is very nice indeed. 24 joules, hacks, hand winds, roughly 40-hour power reserve. Rugged, robust, reliable and accurate, but how accurate? Well, about -8 seconds per day accurate. These ones, the stated accuracy, the tolerances are -20 to +40. If you get one that's running plus or minus 10, that's a pretty good result. Beat error slightly larger than some, but still not too bad. And that's it, sitting on top of my 7-inch wrist. I quite like the blue and tan, the kind of blue and fawn colour combination. I think it suits this one nicely. Now 42mm diameter, but 20mm lug width, so it's a decent sized watch. It's a fairly chunky watch, but they pull it back down. It's going to fit a variety of wrist sizes better because they've slightly shortened the lug width. Now the straps on these Spinnakers are pretty solid. They say water resistance, I'm never quite sure how water resistance. Nice brushed Spinnaker logo on the tang and buckle. Vintage stitching throughout, again in keeping with the look that they're going for. And zoomed higher for perspective, you can see that blue sunburst effect glinting away in the studio lights. Nice tone matching with those yellowish indices that come from that C3 old radium loom. And when you do take it outside into some natural light, you really see the difference that AR coating on the underside of the sapphire crystal has made. Much more legible than the previous model. Now it sits okay, nice curvature to those lugs, but it is quite thick. And that thickness is going to be the first of my moans and niggles today. When I watched my video of the previous Bradner model, I said that the thickness was 14mm. This one's 14.85, so it is thicker than the outgoing model. I think it's because of that case back. I think the actual case back has added just about an extra mil. Not quite sure why they had to make it so thick. It would be a better wearing, better looking, nicer proportioned watch if they'd taken a mil off it rather than adding a mil to it. And my one big gripe of the previous Bradner goes unresolved. It's that sapphire. Kind of box dome, there's an edge there and then it's flat on the top, but the edge sits right on those Arabics on the inner rotating bezel. So you see what I mean? There's always a bit of distortion, and it's not kind of smooth gradiated distortion. There's a step, and it does tend to split those Arabics. You never quite get a clean look at the 30, 40, 50, etc. They're always kind of a House of Fun, fairground mirror style look, where there's perhaps a bit too much distortion for my liking. But clearly that's just me. My moans and niggles didn't stop the Bradner from selling out last time, and I doubt very much they'll stop the Bradner from selling out this time. There just aren't all that many of these dual crown vintage style divers on the market at the moment, so I'm sure this one will do well. $230 US, I think the specs match the look, match some of that detailing on the dial. I think overall it's a pretty strong package. So there you have it. If you're one of the 7 people who's into watches, watches YouTube and haven't already bought a Spinnaker, this Bradner is probably the one to buy. They've certainly made some improvements to this one. The loom is noticeably better than the previous model, but they haven't fixed the glass. There's still that odd step, which in my view doesn't really do the numerals on the rotating bezel any favours, and it is thick with 2 Ks. Still a pretty decent watch though. If you're into it, don't forget the 20% discount code in the description of the video. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.